Anthony Orlando taking up Bachelor of Arts in English Language. And what I'm going to discuss is all about communicative language teachings for the 21st century. So now let's start the discussion. Over the past 2 decades, communicative language teaching or CLT has become a real buzzword in language teaching methodology. But the extent to which the terms cover a well-defined uniform method is highly questionable. In fact, since the genesis of CLT in the early 1970s in the UK and the United States, its proponents have developed a wide range of variants that were loosely related to each other. So what is communicative language teaching? What is communicative language teaching? Communicative language teaching first appeared in the 1970s to promote the teaching of active and meaningful communicative skills. Example is communicative competence. Communicative competence through learner participation and communicative events. Activities promote real communication that is engage learners in the authentic, functional use of language or classroom communicative situations should be resemble real-life communication as much as possible. Fluency is more important than accuracy. Typical communicative activities examples are role plays, discussions, problem-solving tasks, simulations, projects, and games. The 20th century has seen an immense leap in the language teaching methodology. Grammar translation, the direct method, audiolingualism are all preceded what some had called the age of methods, comprising most of the final decades of the last century. When communicative language teaching or CLT was first developed in 1970s, it was widely seen as the definitive response to the shortcomings of the previous approaches and the communication needs of a globalized world. This criticism of the traditional view of language learning as a sterile, intellectual exercise rather than a practical understanding resulting in skills that may be applied in real-life situations was echoed by scholars such as Habermas in the 1970s, Hymes in the 1971, and Savignon in 1972, who based their understanding of the language on the psycholinguistic and sociocultural perspectives that meaning is generated through a collaborative process of expression, negotiation, and interpretation between interlocutors. The communicative approach is based on the idea that learning language successfully comes through having to communicate real meaning. When learners are involved in real communications, their natural strategies for language acquisition will be used, and this will allow them to learn to use the language. One of the main benefits of CLT is that it is a humanistic learner-centered approach, which means that the main focus is on students' needs. Students learn by means of interaction and collaboration. Another advantage is that a teacher is no longer the source of information, but a facilitator and a participant who involves students in real meaningful communication. The teacher has two main roles. The first role is to facilitate the communication process between all participants in the classroom and between these participants and the various activities and texts. The second role is to act as an independent participant within the learning teaching group. A third role for the teacher is that of researcher and learner, which must to contribute in terms of appropriate knowledge and activities, actual and observed experience of the nature of learning and organizational capacities. Activities in CLT typically involve students in real or realistic communication where the accuracy they use is less important than successful achievement of the communicative task they are performing. The range of exercise types and activities compatible with a communicative approach is unlimited, provided that such exercises enable learners to attain the communicative objectives of the curriculum, engage learners in communication, and require the use of such communicative processes as information sharing, negotiation of meaning, and interaction. Classroom activities examples are interview, role plays, simulations, etc. are often designed to focus on completing tasks that are mediated through language or involve negotiation of information and information sharing. The teacher does not intervene to stop the activity, and the materials he or she relies on will not dictate what specific language forms the students use either. In other words, such activities should attempt to replicate real communication. A key to enhancement of communicative purpose and the desire to communicate is the information gap. Cooperative learning structures include pairs, small groups, fluency circles, jigsaw activities, etc. As Noonan relates, in the early days of communicative language teaching, there was a tendency among certain linguists to de-emphasize the teaching of grammar and other aspects of form. This idea was based on the belief that learners would acquire this knowledge naturally through the process of learning how to use the language. However, the current thinking on this issue is that effective communication cannot take place without attention to the rules of grammar, punctuation, sentence structure, pronunciation, and other more formalized aspects of the language, and therefore, teaching these elements is seen as a necessary component of communicative language teaching. Many proponents of communicative language teaching has advocated the use of authentic materials in the classroom. This might include language-based realia such as signs, magazines, advertisements, and newspapers, or graphic and visualized resources around which communicative activities can be built, such as maps, pictures, symbols, graphs, and charts. Different kinds of objects can be used to support communicative exercises. So overall, in spite of some drawbacks, learners benefit tremendously from CLT being used in their classroom. CLT or communicative language teachings appeal to those who seek humanistic and learner-centered approach to language teaching. So that is my report about communicative language teachings for the 21st century. I hope you learned something about my topic or report, and thank you for watching.